Hey Prince Magnum, in one of the last videos, you showed us this particular hammer right here. Why don't you show us in this video how you refurbished that hammer? Well, stick around, that's exactly what we're gonna do. Hello everyone and welcome to the Prince Magnum channel where hot rodding and romance do coexist. I'm your host Prince Magnum. Welcome once again to Do-It-Yourself Budget Hot Rodding, and in this particular episode we're going to talk about this little hammer right here. Alright, if you've kept up with the Prince Magnum channel, you know in one of the last episodes we're starting to prepare for the changes that's forthcoming once the weather breaks to Project Spirit. We've got a lot of body work to do to her. And like a lot of cars of the 1970s, which it's now been over 40 years since they were built, a lot of them need repairs done to their body. Whether it's dents, dings, rust holes, you name it, the bodies are usually in pretty rough shape. And the Mavericks are usually in really bad shape. As a matter of fact, usually by the end of the 80s, they were in really bad shape. Just giant rust buckets, especially if you lived in certain parts of the country where cold weather and snow and that sort of stuff, and snow removal is a factor. So when you consider that, Project Spirit's in actually really good shape considering where she's lived her whole life right here in Missouri. Missouri is notorious for vehicles rusting away to nothing. It's not uncommon that vehicles within 5 years of their building, you will start seeing signs of rust. So because of that, Project Spirit is no exception to the rule. She does have rust, and like a lot of vehicles, within a few years of them leaving the factory, they've got dings, dents, scuffs, scrapes. It's just commonplace. So we've got to remove the rust, and we have to remove the dents and the dings. The rust, that'll take a special trip where we actually have to cut out the rust and replace that with actual metal, and that'll be a whole video in itself, how we're going to do all of that. But the dents and the dings, we can remove that right here at HQ. There's no special trip that has to be made. Now, in our last video, we talked about how the professional body hammer kits are just very expensive. So the next step in this genesis, I guess you could say, is showing you what we would have done back in the old days. And back in the old days, we would have picked up whatever hammers were available to us, and with the use of blocks of wood and just 2x4s or whatever we could get our hands on, we would remove those dents to the best of our ability. And if you know what you're doing, generally speaking, these dents and dings go away with very little use of body putty. And we talked about body putty again in the last video. So in this video, this particular hammer right here came into existence. Well, originally this hammer here was bought at a Dollar Tree for $1. I got 2 uses out of it, and I forgot what I even used it for. And they had it in there with these horrible little bitty staples, and that was supposed to spread the wood out and make it grab hold of the side, and had some epoxy, this really bad epoxy at the top. So it only took a couple of uses, and that was a thing of the past. This hammer head was coming off, and I'm lucky it didn't take anything out. Along with that, when I basically threw it into a box, this hammer started rusting away to nothing very quickly. So when we started talking about body hammers, when Princess Faye and I started talking about it, at that time we started watching videos on how people were restoring old tools and just old things in general. And I'm like, I can do that. And Princess Faye had said, if you make me one of those, If you do anything like that, um, I want the very first one. Well, this is my first one, and this is how we did it. go, folks. Um, really, I mean, this Princess Bay calls this hammer Smasher, and I will say there's a couple of things I wasn't super happy with. Number one, first and foremost, when I went to drive, when you seen me driving in the wedge, the hammer kind of backed up the top a little bit and didn't quite come out the way that I wanted it to here at the top. But all considering, that still turned out pretty well. It holds on there pretty tight. It's not going anywhere. Along with that, I found out quickly through the drop forging that I wasn't able to remove every last scuff. Like once it went into the regular distilled vinegar, um, you could just see how the rust was actually going into the grooves, and that may just be a flaw from the drop forge processing that they did in the Chinese factory. Other than that, I mean, the hammer came out wonderful, and we've already used it as making in this video. We've already used it a couple of times already. Obviously not in body work, but in other stuff in general. So Princess Bay's pretty happy with it. I'm pretty happy with it. So there you go. If you're wondering how much this process actually cost, this process was actually cheaper to do than say buying, you know, one of the more name brand ones, or going to a name brand place and buying one of their cheap store brand hammers. So all considering, I mean, it was still probably only a couple dollars cheaper all total. But there you go. I mean, you know, now we have our first custom hammer for when the weather breaks to get the body work done to Project Spirit. So there you have that. All right. In the next video, I'm going to talk about this hammer right here. So you guys are going to have to wait for the next video to find out about this guy. And in one of the following videos, you all are going to learn about what we're going to do about, you know, basically you're going to see how this one's going to be fixed. So this is the next project. So you guys are going to have to keep watching this as we get closer to spring and start getting ready to do the body work on Project Spirit. You all get to see how that all comes together. All right, so that brings us to our usual spot. As always, shout outs as usual at the end of the video, along with, the usual stuff that I'm going to say. Be sure to hit the subscribe button if you're not subscribed. If you enjoyed this video, smash that like button. That lets YouTube know that they need to push this content to as many folks as possible who are into what we're doing. Along with that, if you are hitting the subscribe button for the Prince Magnum channel, maybe you're new, or maybe you're coming back. I will say again that the subscribe button doesn't mean as much as it used to here on YouTube. So do yourself a favor and hit the bell icon so you'd be notified every time we upload a brand new video. All right. As always, get out there and work on a project. I don't care what it is. Just do something with yourself. Remember, idle hands and a creative mind go together like oil and water. If you have a sweetheart, sweep them off their feet. Do something special for them today. And as always, for all of you out there, if no one out there has told any of you that they love you today, Prince Magnum does. God bless you, and have a happy 24. Thank you.